Welcome to Different Routes Radio, where entrepreneurs share their journeys and wisdom. Today, we are joined by the co-founder of Maverick Drinks, UK's leading craft drinks distributor. We discuss what it means to be a real maverick, as well as the future of the drinks industry, such as canned wines. We also discuss having partners instead of customers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and be a maverick and leave your favorite cocktail in the YouTube comments or on Instagram. DJ, cue the intro.
Welcome to another episode of Different Routes Radio, hosted by myself, Dami, and Timaine, the chill philosopher and optimistic anthropologist. We're actually joined by none other than Michael Vachon, who is the co-founder of Maverick Drinks. Michael has been in the business for 8 years, and prior to that, he did the MBA. I graduated from Alliance Manchester Business School in 2020, us, another alum. And you've also was a director for Genuine Spirits back in the day. So I guess you had a little bit of experience in the food and wine and drink industry. So a little bit about Maverick Drinks. We know that it's the Unilever of spirits here in UK. So you guys boast of having different craft brands, more than 15 of them. So you have gin brands, whiskey brands, and tequila brands, and you help essentially look towards distributing them across UK and Europe. So we thank you, Michael, for coming in, and we looking forward to you giving us an insight as to what it is to get us booze on the shelf and all that stuff.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. So always happy to support fellow Alliance Manchester Business School alums, but also I just liked your approach from the very get-go. It's been great to get to know you guys both, and I look forward to telling you a little bit more about my story.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm wondering, so everywhere, growing up in England, well, you spend a lot of time in England, everyone drinks beer. So when I went to boarding school, everyone was drinking beer, and I was just like, I don't like this. So I was drinking Bacardi Breezers, like all these like Smirnoff Ices. And then I discovered like Baileys and like vodka and things that I liked. But I was just drinking beer. I'm like, this is disgusting. And everyone now is like, craft beer, it's the best thing. But you're doing craft spirits. I don't know where you were when I was a teenager, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And tell us how did you get into craft spirits rather than craft beer? And
so craft and boutiques brands, right? So
it's made in like the traditional way.
Yeah, so we all know these big mainstream brands, and you can look back 25, 30 years and where craft beer was starting to be introduced in the US, and it really started to catch fire in kind of the 80s, 90s especially, and then from the 2000s, it was just, to the moon. And if you trace the growth in number of craft breweries versus number of craft distilleries, the two charts almost trace each other just 30 years later. So the actual number of distilleries now stands at, in the US, nearly 2,000 distilleries. And 15 years ago, there were 50. So, you've had an explosion of new entrants to the category. And as soon as everyone gets a local craft brewery or a local craft distillery, and they get to learn a lot more about, they can see the process behind it, they start to not want to go back to those generic, mainstream, overly commercialized products that they had been drinking before, because now they appreciate all the work that goes into crafting a more unique, interesting, flavorful product. So I saw that the growth was happening in the US, and this is 2010. I'm in my MBA, and I could see, and I was watching these trends go from 50 to 1,000 in just a few years in the US, and I started thinking, I think this same trend is going to happen here, and I don't know when, I don't know how, and around 2010 is actually really when it started to kick off. We had a few brands, Sipsmith, Chase, who had started their own distilleries here, changed a lot of the legislation to be able to do so, because then the legislation hadn't been looked at in, I mean, hundreds of years, and really paved the way for what would be a whole generation of craft distillers here in the UK. And now it's huge business. We've got nearly 500 distilleries operating in the UK, when that might have been, you know, a dozen 15 years ago. So,
and then like, that's amazing. So you saw the trend coming, and then you decided to hop in on that coming trend. And then you started the business in 2013. And even from the get-go, you guys have now won 4 awards, right, for the fastest growing UK distributor. So 4 times since 2013. And the very first year you guys won the award was 2014. So within a matter of 1 year, you already established a very good distribution network and got recognition for it. So,
and hit a 3-peat back to back 2016, 17, 18 champion. Yeah. That's like some Jordan Chicago Bulls legendary statistics. How did you manage to not only, like Dami said, achieve it, but maintain it?
Yeah, you know, when Maverick Drinks started in 2013, it was an extension. I'd started importing spirits into my flat in 2012. I mean, I literally had a pallet of 120 cases, so 720 bottles, delivered to my door in a small flat in Northwest London in Kilburn. And you get, you know, a full wall filled with whiskey and gin. And now you got to go out and actually sell the stuff because rent's due in 3 weeks. So there's no greater pressure than a deadline. And so I just got out there and started knocking on doors. You know, I had a suitcase. Literally, I can remember going through on the underground and lifting a suitcase up the stairs, you know, like up every level of stairs, making all the deliveries myself. And so you just learn, you know, to borrow a phrase from Manchester Business School, you learn by doing.
Yeah, we know that.
And so it was a baptism by fire, where not knowing anything about the industry, but knowing that I liked cocktails, I liked spirits, I liked craft beer, and I could see that there was this trend happening, and that I wanted to, you know, be part of that trend. Well, a year later, my company, Genuine Spirits, was acquired by a company who had a retailer called Master of Malt, and they said, we want to start our own distribution business. So they basically acquired my business, and I started Maverick Drinks within alongside their business, Master of Malt, and that was 2013. And from that moment, we said, we're just not going to do things like everybody else. We're just going to ask, why are these things done this way? And is there a better way? Not saying that we know that we're doing it the right way. We definitely didn't know we were doing it the right way. We made every mistake you can possibly make. But we at least asked, why are things done this way? Because too often in the drinks industry to that point, the answer was, well, that's just how it's done.
Sure.
And so that was the genesis of the name Maverick Drinks. You know, we weren't trying to be, you know, screw you big brands. You know, it wasn't like we weren't trying to be rebellious or punk. We were just saying, look, you've got your way, we're going to go our way. And that is the definition of a Maverick, someone who goes their own way.
Yeah, definitely.
So then during that journey, what was like 1 or 2 big changes that you guys discovered that, you know what, this is done this is done historically, but we need to change this. So what did you see, and how did you guys change it?
Well, and I think this speaks to how we won. And there are a lot of awards out there, but there's only really one award for spirits distributors, and it happens to be from the most, or one of the most reputable judging bodies in the world, the International Wine and Spirits Competition. And how we kind of put ourselves on the map and won a few awards was because we challenged everything. We didn't take anything for granted as to that's just how it's done. And the big thing we really challenged was, we would go into bars, we would go into shops, and we would talk about how amazing this product is, and they go, you're right, tastes amazing, it looks amazing, we love the story, we'd love to stock it, we'd love to sell it to our guests and customers. Here's our fee to do so. And I'd say, well, what do you mean? They said, well, we charge everyone a fee to stock their products. You pay us and we'll sell it. And I thought, well, I've never come across an industry where I've got to pay you to stock my product. Like I've got an amazing, you just said how amazing the product is and how your customers are going to love it. And yet you want me to pay you, not me selling to you, you want me to pay you to stock it. And we kept coming up against this time and time again. There was a huge pay to play culture in the drinks industry. And we said from the very beginning that we were just not going to do that. We rely on the quality of our product. We rely on the story and the packaging and everything that should be what sells it, not the fact that we have given you cash in an envelope to be able to put it on your shelf. I think it didn't make any sense to me then. It still doesn't make much sense to me now. So that was the one thing we took a pretty hard line on when we first started, was we're not going to pay anyone to take our product. We're going to stand by the quality of it. And if you like it, then you can support it and you can have it and we'll sell it to you and you can delight your guests and customers with it. But yeah, we weren't interested in paying for affections.
So how did you overcome that hurdle? You stuck to your principles and you just kept on going, showing you just trusted the quality of the product, or how did it work out?
Or did you have their team of lawyers and be like, guys, duke it out, and your team of lawyers won?
No, there's no legality of it. There's nothing to say you can't pay someone to take your products. There's no law around that. But we, at the largest drinks industry trade show, we made T-shirts that said F kickbacks, F listing fees, drink craft. And I said, should we put little stars in for the letters?
Yeah.
And the other people in the team said, look, if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
So we went over 18 there anyway, because they will add an alcohol first. Sure. Yeah, good idea.
So we made it very clear we were not going to pay you to take our product. And so people thought, well, there must be something really special about this product. They're not even willing to entertain the discussion of a listing fee with us. Who do they think they are that their product must be so special that they don't want to even talk about this?
I think that's pretty ballsy, and kudos for you for being able to pull it off. And now, despite being Mavericks and being we'll do it our way and see what happens, you guys are now showing a lot of success because you now have partners in retail, wholesale, and online. So you guys even boast of partners in White Rose, Asda. You also got some wholesale such as Nectar Imports, Matthew Clark, and Ocado.
Our distribution is pretty extensive now. You work with every major grocer. I remember going into, I think it was Asda, and they said, what does your marketing plan look like? And they wanted to know that we were going to buy some billboards and we were going to advertise in the newspaper and all this. And I said, we don't have one. And he said, well, you don't have one. So what is the plan? I said, the plan is put these bottles on the shelf and they'll sell. And he goes, that's the plan. You want me to just put the bottles on the shelf and they're just going to sell themselves? I was like, that's the plan. And he goes, all right. And so we gave it a go. And our packaging was so distinct and that was on one of our brands, Bathtub Gin. And it's really a labor of love. It's wrapped with brown paper, twine, wax dipped. It's almost 3 minutes just to wrap each bottle on the production line. And it's an enormous cost to make this product look the way it does. But it is so eye-catching and tactile. People literally want to take it off and feel the paper on it. And so it worked, and the rate of sale was better than they were used to. We didn't spend anything in some comprehensive marketing plan. They put it on the shelf and it sold.
And truthfully, I'm not gonna lie, I'm the kind of guy that walks down the aisle and it's like the images, or it's like I once bought a bottle of wine just because it said Black Bear wine. I was like, oh, I know Black Bears. Okay, I'll try it. And then I bought it. And then
I go for the nicest looking bottle, like the shiniest, fanciest looking one. So I'd probably go for yours if I saw it. Because you want to make an impression, so you go for the wine bottle that looks nicest.
Or like Cristal,
or like the rose gold bottles, like Ace of Spades. You know, you've got a gold champagne. It kind of stands out more. Or like the Dom Perignon ones that glow in the dark. Those ones are really cool. So yeah,
fancy.
And that definitely works in kind of the luxury end. And we've always tried to be kind of in the certainly premium, but not quite luxury. So kind of accessible luxury, everyday luxury end.
That's the everyday luxury, because you don't want to spend like £1,000 on a bottle, but get it looks a little extra 10, 20, 30 pounds, and it looks a lot nicer, it tastes a lot nicer.
Actually, based on what I've read, is like there's now an increase of premium drinks being offered now, just because millennials are now looking to, pursue tipsy, but also look good for pursuit of tipsiness.
Sure, and they want to drink less generally, but actually, when they're drinking less, they want to drink better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, all those trends just work in our favor. We don't do anything that is not really, really good quality, like almost stunningly good quality, and we've quite organically seen a lot of growth, just as all we need to do is make our products discoverable. And we find that we're growing our audience.
Yeah. So it's the actual increase of premium drinks has increased by 13% this last year. So just even the sheer number of competition or sheer number of options is always on upgrade for the $25 or more.
Well, and gin in the UK is now £1 billion market.
Yes.
It has exploded over the past 10 years. And flavored gins in particular have done very well in the past few years, and we're quite agile, so we can make new brands very quickly. We launched a Jaffa Cake gin last year.
Oh
Jaffa Cake gin.
I actually went to a gin tasting. I think it's either Jamie Oliver or who's the chef that shouts the one that swears, Gordon Ramsay. One of them has a gin tasting bar in East London, and I went for someone's birthday before lockdown a couple of years ago, and there were all kinds of gin, like all the flavors, like Jaffa Cake. They had like Oreos gin. They had weird flavors, and I didn't like most of them because I don't like gin. Okay. But I thought, when are they going to do like a tequila or like a craft tequila or like a whiskey bar or gin? I found a whiskey bar in Manchester, but now I have Maverick Drinks. So
everybody has a gin for them. You just haven't found yours yet.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Gin makes you sad and makes you cry. I'm a very happy person, so I don't have time to.
No, that's an old wives' tale.
Exactly. He knows.
It's all alcohol. It's all alcohol.
No, tequila makes me energetic and happy. Same with champagne. Gin, I just don't like the taste, and wine makes me sleepy. Red wine makes me sleepy. So I know which ones are for the right occasion.
We'll find one for you. Don't worry.
We'll find one. Yeah, we'll sample it until we get it right.
As long as it takes.
Yeah. So even in the food and drink industry, like let's even talk about what's the most desired drinks that most people go ask for when they go to grocery store. So do you guys have a guess? Like in UK, like do you think it's gin, wine, beer what?
Wine.
Tequila,
beer and wine.
I mean, beer is probably still king, but when it comes to spirits, despite gin's phenomenal growth, I'd probably still say vodka over gin. Vodka is still kind of the king of mainstream.
I'd agree with you.
Good college drink. It's my drink of choice. If I needed it to be my Friday night. So actually, it's wine is the number one asked about thing when people go to stores. Then whiskey, then craft beer, and then local made crafts. So tequila, I like tequila. That ranked around 9.
That's because I'm not the average man. Oh. I'm a man of finesse.
Okay.
Man of fine taste.
Instagram is T_finessing. So I'm a man.
And his mother follows his Instagram, so make sure you report him.
Yeah, but I hide a lot of stories from her, so it's all right.
Okay, my mom follows my Instagram too. So that's
Yeah, no, the day I saw that, it was, I was like, no. And I left it for like 2 weeks. And she's like, why haven't you accepted me? I said, damn it, mom. Now I'm going to do some hidden stories, close friends, and all of this nonsense. But I was wondering though, about the gin. So I saw the gin trend coming and everywhere, whenever wanted gin. How did you see this trend coming from America, coming to the UK for craft spirits? Because I know nowadays a quarter of the beer in America, retail beer, is craft beer, which I thought was quite shocking because I didn't think it would be so high. How did you see this whole trend coming over to the UK? I mean, what were the indicators?
Let's say Sipsmith opened up in London, and they were the first distillery to open up in London in, I think, over 200 years. First new distillery. And Chase had opened in Herefordshire. And with those two, I mean, they were really the pioneers. They set the tone and changed the legislation that would pave the way for 400 or 500 more to follow. And
America sneezes, Britain catches a cold. So you saw the head. I didn't make it up.
Wow.
I don't think we would have a business if not for those two distilleries. They really did a lot to change the legislation to make it so much easier for people to start up and get distilling licenses. Yeah, I don't think we'd see any of the craft distillers we see today in the UK if not for the work that they did. So credit where credit is due. When we started, we said we were going to be a distributor of craft spirits. But again, I guess anybody could be a distributor of craft spirits. There's nothing special about that. We were fortunate to win a few awards, so we said, well, we're now the leading distributor of craft spirits. Perfectly defensible statement, but still not really encapsulating what we were about. It was still very transactional. We're a distributor. We buy something for one price, we sell it for a bit more money. And again, anybody could really do that. And so we thought long and hard about what is it, not what are we doing, but what do we want to be? And so we changed all of our messaging to Maverick Drinks as leading the craft spirits movement in the UK. And I think that's a much more powerful statement.
Much more powerful statement.
So going back a little bit to, you said that anyone could be a distributor of spirits, right? So is there any sort of legislation or federation? Like I know there's a Food and Drink Federation and there's Freight Transportation Association. Do people need to be registered on any of them to be able to legally move around stuff around UK, or would you guys have one in mind?
You didn't when I started. You do now. There is a registration to be able to sell goods to retail here in the UK. But again, it's not that difficult to do. And there's another registration that allows you to hold goods in a warehouse without paying the tax on them. That was early on. That was one thing I needed to do, and had a few interviews with HMRC and things, and I'm showing them my business plan. But if I could do this and I was doing it out of my flat, I think it's not too unbelievable to think that it's relatively straightforward to get into distributing spirits. And again, get the commercials right. You're buying it for one price, you're finding the demand, you're selling it for a bit more money than you bought it. It is, it's the very basics of commerce. It's not that exciting as a business. And so, we talked a bit earlier about, do people care about who Maverick Drinks is? I mean, really, when all we are is the conduit of someone who makes an amazing product and the people who actually consume that product. And we're kind of the middlemen. Well, I would argue that, I do want to talk about Maverick Drinks. And that's not just because I'm one of the co-founders and I'm so proud of the business we created. But I think that we serve a fundamental role in introducing people to things that they would never otherwise have found. And so my role is largely now to go out and find those amazing spirits that you may have heard of that we discover, and we really bring them to what is one of the most mature and developed spirits markets in the world.
So I realized on your Instagram that you've had a chance to travel around the world. So you've gone to India, Greece, Mexico. I'm sure Mexico to get some good tequila, right? So where are some like interesting places that you've gone to and you've been able to endorse the Maverick name and then bring them back to England?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly in terms of number of distilleries, there's nobody that really compares to the US. I mean, there's just so much to choose from, and there's so many amazing things happening that you could spend a lifetime trying to see all the distilleries there and learn everything that's happening. But there's, we've been fortunate to work with, there's a lot of interesting new markets for where whiskey's being made, where for no good reason, no one had done it before or hadn't done it in a long time. So, we've worked with whiskeys from Finland, from France, from Israel. We've got some really exciting whiskeys that we've been able to work with. The one from Finland is just doing incredibly well for us. We get it in, it sells out immediately. They're ramping up production as much as they can, and we're buying as much as we can. But yeah, we've got some really amazing partners that we've been able to work with around the world. I would say Australia has a lot of exciting stuff happening, both gin and whiskey in Australia now. I haven't been since I've worked in drinks. So I would love to get back out there to be able to tour around some of the distilleries there. And yeah, and we spoke of Mexico. There's so much to discover still in Mexico. There's so many small producers who just kind of make it in the back of their shed, but they make something phenomenal because it's so hands-on. It's so artisanal, and these very traditional processes. I think you could equally spend years just uncovering some really amazing spirits there, which we've only just started to work with.
You have one of the best jobs in the world, don't you? I was thinking, you said that sometimes they sell out and they try and make more. I mean, obviously with craft beer or craft spirits, it's like a tradition made in a traditional way, and they have smaller distilleries. Do you often find, especially working with companies in London or Ocado, or if you have a big client, do they run out often? Because if they say, oh, this was great, it sold out, everyone loved it, can we have like 100 more bottles or 50 more?
And then to fulfill a rush order that's so big for a big retailer, that must be difficult.
Well, we're very aware of what the constraints are with some of these smaller distilleries, or I'd say startup distilleries. They may not be small, but for instance, whiskey, you can't sell whiskey here and call it whiskey unless it has spent 3 years and 1 day in an oak barrel.
Yeah.
So you can make 1 million liters today. You can't sell one drop of it for 3 years. So these may not necessarily be small distilleries, but they are still startups. So they have some years before they might have even be able to legally sell it. And we have other distilleries who are actively waiting. They want it to be 10 years, 12 years.
Yeah.
So, it's a long cycle from when you've made the product to when you might actually end up selling it. And so there could be, certainly with whiskey, constraints along the way. And we're very aware of who we try to sell to on that basis. So we wouldn't go to a Tesco with a brand that might only have 1,000 bottles, because it just doesn't really work for them. But where we go to our specialist whiskey shops and high-end retailers, that's where we can be a little more exclusive, a little more specialist, and that's where we position a product like that. Also e-commerce, so we can do a lot more on websites like Master of Malt, the Whiskey Exchange, etc. Where
take off the listing once you've sold out, you just take it down.
Yeah, exactly. So where even if it is a limited product, we actually use the fact that it is limited is actually a really good impetus for sales. We tell people very upfront, we only have 1,000 bottles. Yeah. That's all we get for the year.
So if you want to play hardball, it's going to be gone next month, and it's actually going to be gone next month. So you better take it while you can.
So and that that brand is growing every year, and every year we get more from them because every year they're putting more into barrels, and so we can see the future with them where we'll have as much supply as we could possibly consume, but we're probably still a good few years off from that.
Speaking of the future, your industry is looking to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 19%.
CAGR, I know that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure if all our listeners know, but they know. Not everyone's MBA educated like you, Dami. But yeah, 19%. And that's an increase of $25.4 billion between now and 2024. Wow. So I hope you're ready for scaling up. And if you need any interns to test any drinks in Mexico, definitely shout me in.
I'll go to Finland too.
Yeah, I'll go to Finland. We'll go anywhere. Look, I'll go to COVID vaccine. I'll go anywhere. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely ready to scale up. In 2018, Maverick Drinks and Master of Malt collectively as one business, we were acquired by ZX Ventures, who are the disruptive growth division of AB InBev. And AB InBev are the world's largest alcoholic drinks company. They are 3 times the size of Diageo. They are twice the size of Coke. Yes. So in terms of being able to scale up, we're now backed by the largest drink company in the world. I don't think we're going to have any trouble scaling up when we need to.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started with the big suitcase on the tube, and now
now the tube comes to me.
Now the tube comes to you, and you're leading. Now you go to Mexico, you don't even take the tube, and you're leading the whole artisan craft spirits movement. Nice.
Yeah. So they're a monster company, and us navigating our way through it has taken a few years, but now we're really seeing the benefit of that partnership, and they're helping open up some doors for us as well. We're one of the first ever spirits investments, so there's a lot of learnings from both sides. But I think having a partner who has that kind of is already at that level, that kind of scale, there's a lot we can learn from that as well.
After I haven't actually asked, how big has your company grown? And like when it started, was it you and a co-founder, or were there a few of you when you were carrying your drinks on the tube? And also, as you've grown and been acquired and taken on new people, have you kind of kept the company culture? Do you have a lot of say in who you hired to make sure that they are Mavericks, or do you just take people with talent? How's that journey?
Are you applying for a job? You're like, what's the insight?
Tammy, why are you outing me? I know it's a very subtle question.
You're really blowing up the spot there.
Yeah. My friend.
It's a really good question, and it has had its ups and downs. So when we started, I was, I guess, employee 1 of Maverick Drinks. I would say co-founder because there were 3 other founders who started Master of Malt. So I would consider them the co-founders in Maverick Drinks. We had a team of 4 when we started. That they've all gone in individually to do great things. And we have, over the years, like any business, we've had people come and go. And what I'm quite proud of is that almost everybody who has left has gone on to do something, much better than they were doing with us. They've really, in some ways, maybe they outgrew us, and that's great. We have a little alumni network of people who I'm very proud of, that for the time that they spent with us, they learned a lot, they developed themselves, and they went on to do really great things. And that's, as an employer, that is exactly what we would hope for. But it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. We had periods where we tried to scale too quickly, and so then we had to scale things back. And we've lost really good talent. Our culture was probably on a roller coaster. I think that you're right to point out that the culture does change as you try to scale. And I'd say we had a lot of kind of just bumps in the road, I suppose you could say. But I think we're kind of back to a place, and probably the past, even during COVID, where a lot of our team were on furlough because there's no bars, everything was shut down. I actually think we still spent time. We tried to catch up fairly frequently, and we've come out of it as a business stronger than ever. We, our e-commerce business is thriving. Grocery was thriving, while the on-trade and bars, restaurants, hotels, and everything were all shut. They've come back with a bang. So I'd say everybody's just come back really optimistic, really positive about the direction of things. Some things that grew significantly during lockdown, like our online side of our business, that seems to be here to stay. And what we lost in on-trade is now coming back. So the business is, you know, I would never say that anybody wants to gone through the past year and a half of COVID. It's, you know, not at all, but it hasn't been that bad for our business. And our team have, a lot of them volunteered for furlough, and they were really, it was a really team collective effort to kind of get through it and just hustle. I mean, people found new ways to sell. People were doing virtual tastings. Everybody did kind of whatever they needed to do to keep our business going in the way we wanted it to go. And we've come out the other side stronger than ever. So I actually feel really good about the culture now. But it took a little while of scaling to figure out what our rhythm was going to be.
Sure. And then in general, you've talked about how there's been an increase in sales in retail, but yet there was a decrease in sales in restaurant and bars. And that's actually a common trend for across the world globally when it came to the beverages. So the fact that you're able to ride that with them, you know, says that you're part of that industry, and their sales also affect your sales and vice versa, kind of thing.
Yeah, and as things started to open up, you know, we were worried that people would, you know, go back towards the cheapest things because they're, you know, they're very price conscious. You know, they haven't been trading for a year, that then open up with, but people were reaching out to us and saying, you know, we love your products. We want to continue working with you. We're opening back up. How can we work together?
Sure.
And we've done whatever we could to support. So, yeah, I think hopefully, you know, we don't talk about our accounts. We don't talk about, we don't have sales managers or account managers. We have partner managers, because everybody we sell to should be considered a partner. We can't do it without them. They can't do it without us. So why do we keep talking about them as like an account or like a line in a spreadsheet? Like they're partners. And so we have partner managers, and I think we're really seeing the benefit of that on the coming out of COVID now, where those partnerships have held strong.
And then moving forward, because right now you're, well, you might correct me if I'm wrong, is that you look to distribute around UK. Would you guys be going internationally? Because the reason why I asked this is that statistics said that for the exports of food and drinks, the number one country that received the most drink exports is Ireland, then France, and then US. So if you'll be going into those markets or supplying to those markets or distributing to those markets, would that be in Maverick?
So, Maverick Drinks is really focused on the UK and building up the market here, and I say developing that craft spirits movement here. But we also own our own brands, which Maverick Drinks distributes, but we don't just, they're not owned by someone else, they're owned by us. We created our own brands. Those brands we do export already. We're exporting to over 50 countries around the world. We send our gins and our whiskeys as far as US, Australia, China, South Africa. I mean, we kind of go pretty much all corners of the globe. We have some presence with some of our brands. So, but that's not the part of the business that I've managed. I've only really been involved in the UK distribution, for which just last week we just signed the distribution for what could be one of our biggest brands, probably is our biggest brand ever. And we just started this week, so we're really excited about. So the future is really looking very bright.
Nice, looking forward.
I was thinking, any shares, IPO, anything you could hook someone out. We'll talk off there. Maybe we'll have some drinks, taste some things when I'm next in London, and then we can talk about those shares, because sounds like a good time to get involved.
Yeah, and you know, as the business has developed, my role has become a lot more strategic within the business, and I've stepped back a few days. So I'm now also getting involved in other drinks projects, because I think it's good to have that variety. I've been doing the same thing for 8 years, and actually working with other drinks brands, I find I'm bringing a lot more knowledge back to Maverick Drinks, and I'm bringing a lot more experience from a wider variety of different categories, from non-alc drinks to canned cocktails to even to full strength spirits like we work with within Maverick Drinks. And taking those learnings back to Maverick Drinks, I think has really helped. But also, I think when you're so deep into it, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. And to take a step back a little bit, I think that the time I spend on Maverick Drinks is actually much better quality time than it probably was when I was 5 days a week, because I'm able to get a little bit of perspective on things. So yeah, my role has shifted a little bit over the past, not even a few months. But I think it's a really good place where I'm providing as much value as I can in Maverick Drinks, but I'm also helping other people earlier on in that journey to grow and scale.
Awesome. So you kind of talked a little bit about bringing in like canned cocktails, so RTDs, so ready to drink beverages. So a little bit about that is like, we know that, well, canned wines is now a thing, right? So would you guys ever be considering putting that into the Maverick umbrella?
That sounds horrible, by the way. Just my 2 cents.
Well, it's like ready to go. It's
wine
quick.
out of a can.
Oh, it's just quick picnic. You just go there, take a can.
Wine should not be. I did have once. We were in Cornwall and we had this big box of wine. I've had wine boxes, and that's you have a little tap on it.
No,
that's really cool.
Wine by the bag.
Yeah, wine. No, but it was like literally a box. But yeah, you can also get it in the bag. But I don't think wine should be in a can. That's a bridge too far for me. What do you think?
I'm telling you, I've had some really wonderful wines in cans. So there's nothing to say that just because of the format that it's going to taste better or worse. It's like when people said, oh, well, screw caps on a bottle of wine. They said, oh, wine should have a cork. Well, why should wine have a cork? Wine with a cork is more likely to go off than wine with a screw cap. It's actually better for the wine.
That's true.
So I don't see anything wrong with the can if you can get the liquid inside is the same. Shouldn't change how it tastes if the liquid's great. And making it a much more accessible, convenient format. Yeah, I think RTDs are really exciting. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening across cocktails, wine, hard seltzers. There's just a lot happening in that RTD space. And we haven't worked anything specific with Maverick Drinks, but I advised on a couple of brands that are in that space. And I think with Maverick Drinks, we've always avoided anything that has an expiration date. The beauty of something like whiskey is it never goes off, and if anything, it goes up in price.
True.
So as it becomes more rare, it goes up in price. So we have an appreciating asset in our spirit stock, and it will never go off. In 100 years, it'll still taste exactly the same.
There's one whiskey brand that you guys have. It's called Darkness.
I saw that on the website. My eye drew. I was like, oh, that looks cool.
So
it'll be like Batman's whiskey. I think it just looks cool.
Yeah. Heavily sherried. So we take a single malt whiskey and we put it into special barrels that have been seasoned with sherry on the inside, and adds just these amazing kind of raisins and stone fruits and it's really complex, wonderful layers of flavor.
Yeah, awesome.
Maybe that's what I should have sent you before. And I know I would have sent some up before the podcast, but
there's still time. Don't worry. All right, so quickly going into transportation or distribution around UK. There's now an increasing need for safety to be adhered to. So looking at, let's even say, highway safety, and there's lorries on the road transporting goods left and right kind of thing. How is Maverick looking to make sure that their lorries or their drivers are adhering to safety regulations, or making sure that they're staying safe on the road? Because as it is right now, we've seen there's been a decrease of accidents per billion lorry drivers. There's been a decrease of 8.2% of accidents, so which is good, and hopefully Maverick is part of that statistic. But yeah, tell us more about your guys' policy on safety on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think we properly vet all of our suppliers. So we will often pay more for a company that we think is more reputable. We don't try and cut corners And you see that not just in, I mean, it is through our entire business, from the spirits themselves. We don't cut corners. We would take that same philosophy to the transport companies we would work with, the cardboard box manufacturers we'd work with. Everything would be, well, if we're spending the money on it, let's do it the right way, rather than try and save a few pennies here and there for what might introduce risk. And we found that in 8 years, I can't think of any incident, not a single one, with any of our deliveries that we've sent anywhere in the UK. But it's not just about the safety side. We also look for people who kind of have a similar mindset to us, a bit more progressive, I would say. And so, some of our suppliers are making efforts to go carbon neutral and offset, or at least offset their carbon emissions. And we're trying to, we've got a sustainability initiative internally where we're trying to look at every aspect of our supply chain to see where can we reduce our impact, and work with people who share that philosophy. So I can't say that safety is the only thing we look at it. We look at a business, and it's all of our suppliers kind of in totality to say, are they our kind of people that we'd want to work with, that they wouldn't cut corners, that they care about, doing good business.
Yeah.
And that's part of the criteria we look at for everybody who supplies us. So
I think that's really important. We were speaking to a company the other week, and they went so far as their factories use solar panels to power the factory. So being Mavericks, you guys should think about something really crazy like that. Like maybe, I don't know,
just have all EU vehicles.
all electric, solar powered vehicles, or bottles that are biodegradable, something like that. That'd be pretty cool. Because I think you can use
because there's yeast already in the beer, right? So it's gonna leave the can.
Maybe edible beer bottles.
What?
Hey, you want to put wine in a can? Why can't I have a beer and like a snack at the same time, just all in one? Come on, think about it.
We've got a lot of ideas in the works, and I won't spoil it. But
someone will steal it. But
if I say we're increasingly aware, like any good business should be, of their impact on the world, and we're trying to see how we can always reduce that. So that comes down to, from our packaging to our bottles, to our production, to our transport. I mean, there is we can't just fix one problem and say, we're making big strides when we might be doing worse in other areas. That wouldn't be very honest. So we need to be working across all areas and really communicate when we have something meaningful to say. So watch the space.
We'll be keeping a close eye and seeing what innovative ways you guys
over a few cocktails. I'll just be.
You are just trying to get crunk, aren't you?
Dude, we've been in lockdown for a long time, and now we're into being the leader in the freaking movement for craft spirits.
Oh my Lord!
I mean, what more can I ask for?
It's a sign from heaven.
It's a sign who travels the world trying out alcohol.
I've got my dear friends, the Schofield brothers, who opened up Schofield's bar in Manchester, and I am dying to get up there to see them and see that bar.
I can do some recon for you if you want.
I tell you, this will be a destination bar globally.
Really? That good?
Yeah.
All right. So do you know when they'll open approximately? Would it be this?
They're open. They're there. You can go tonight if you want to.
All right. Nice. All right.
Most famous Schofield since Prison Break.
Wow. It really went Michael on us.
Michael Schofield.
Season 4 and 5. Well, let's not talk about that.
I don't think there's any relation to Philip either.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike, for coming in and telling us what's going on with Maverick and with craft distribution. So if you are able to now give us 1 minute word of wisdom for budding entrepreneurs that want to be able to get into your workspace, what would it be?
Man, one minute to distill down my experience. I would say that you'll always find reasons not to do any entrepreneurial venture. You can find the opportunity, you can see the size of the market, you can see all the pieces that might need to come together, But if you're looking for reasons not to do it, you'll always find those reasons. And I think when we were thinking about what we would want to invest in, and we had the limited funds we had to be able to invest, we said there is probably no better investment than investing in ourselves. And so just at the start of this year, my wife and I started a whole new brand doing extra virgin olive oil, because we could see a market, we could see how we could do something different, and we could see how we could do something really impactful in a totally different space. And everybody said, well, you don't know anything about olive oil. Well, we didn't know anything about craft spirits when we started either. But that's not a good reason not to do it. So don't look for the reason not to do it. Just, and there's never a right time. I just say, get going and, start it as soon as you can.
Thanks a lot, Mike. That's so true that despite whatever knowledge you might have or confidence you might have, still pursue it and try for it. And, we start off with Maverick Drinks today, olive oils tomorrow. Who knows, Lamborghinis next day.
Well, we're pretty excited about olive oil, and it's going well enough that my wife has just handed in her notice last week. So she's going to go full time on it.
That's actually really good, because this reminds me of a story. There's one day when I was coming out of the gym and I saw a guy and he was driving like a sports car. He just parked it, and it was like, I was so ballsy. I was like, sir, what's it you do? And he says, I'm in olives. I'm like, olives? So there's money being made, so you can be driving a Lamborghini based running on olive oil as gas.
I mean, do you have an olive oil at home? Do you have an olive oil in your kitchen at home?
I do not have one, no.
You do not have an olive oil in your kitchen?
I've got like
olive oil.
A bottle of olive oil.
Any bottle of olive oil in your kitchen?
But there were so many different, when you go to the supermarket, there's so many different types.
Yeah, but could you name a single brand?
No way. Wait. I can recognize it by the picture and the logo and stuff when I see it, but I couldn't name it.
But you couldn't name a single brand for something that most people have a bottle of in their homes.
I definitely have a bottle, and I definitely couldn't name a brand.
And I think that alone says that there is an opportunity to do something impactful there, do something different. Something that, the average UK consumer uses 500 ml, so that's the size of our bottle every month. And yet, so every month they're buying a bottle, 12 times a year they're buying a bottle. Couldn't tell you what's in it, where it comes from, who makes it, or what it's even called. And I think that's crazy.
That is crazy.
So, and we think, what are the things you have at home that you take for granted? And I think olive oil is probably one of those things where you just don't really think about it. You just buy whatever one looks nice, or whatever one is the right price.
Yeah. I just buy the one that my parents used to buy. I was like, okay, that's safe.
I reckon, so I recognize that logo. I'll go for that one. But not well enough to actually know the brand though. So that's crazy.
So we're doing something that really takes puts provenance right at the very heart of the product. And we talk exactly where it comes from, single estate. It's a high-end product. It's, much more expensive than the grocery store stuff. We do it in a wine bottle, so it stands out from every other bottle out there. It's a lot more modern looking, not these kind of gold foiling and flags and whatever you might see on a classic olive oil bottle. And yeah, the reception's been great. We were on TV 2 weeks ago. We've had some really good press so far. And so, yeah, my wife's gonna give it a go.
Give us a name, or?
Citizens of Soil.
Citizens of Soil.
Citizens of Soil.
Right.
So, wow. When do you have time to sleep? You just keep popping up.
I find time somehow, but Citizens of Soil is our latest project, and we're really having a lot of fun with it.
Nice one. All right, we're looking forward to seeing it on the shelves and seeing what back-to-back awards you're going to give us for olive oil.
We just sent a sample up to a shop called Butcher's Quarter on Tip Street in the Northern Quarter. And so I got to actually chase up with him today, because I sent him a sample this week. Now we got to place the order.
Nice one. Like that. Thanks a lot, Mike. We really appreciate it.
Cool, my pleasure, guys.
If we can also bother you for how can our listeners or watchers on YouTube be able to reach out to you or Maverick Drinks or be a partner of Maverick Drinks?
I would say either through our website, maverickdrinks.com, or on Instagram at Maverick Drinks. That's probably the best ways to reach us.
Thanks a lot for coming in to another episode with us. And we really appreciate Michael coming in and giving us the insights of Maverick Drinks. We look forward to being able to share the drink with you in the near future. So we'll see you around.
My pleasure.
All right.
Peace.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Don't forget to hit the like button to subscribe to Different Roots Radio on YouTube, Twitter, and all audio listening channels. Our talks air every other Monday. One love.